All right. Thanks everyone for your thoughts on tonight's edition of Raw. At this point, Wei and I are going to give our brief thoughts on our movie-going experiences over the weekend. Wei, you got to go see what has become a very polarizing Marvel film. Maybe not so polarizing. It seems most people very down on Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania.
Yeah, I mean, I would say polarizing, maybe in the sense that the critical score is, I think at last check for me, like something at like 48% on Rotten Tomatoes, and the audience score is something at like 89. But, you know, we have to remember like what Rotten Tomatoes actually means. It's just simply about whether or not you enjoyed it. You know, 48% of critics did not enjoy, or 48% enjoyed it. 89% of audiences enjoyed it. And that doesn't tell you how much somebody enjoyed something. It just simply tells you that, you know, black or white, yes or no. Did you enjoy it? And the answer was yes. And I fall into that category as well. I enjoyed Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. I did not like it enough for me to remember it as a significant movie going experience. So are we getting to spoilers or not?
Yeah, it's been out for a week.
Well, I'm not gonna spoil that much, but like just basically for me, I felt like it was a film that didn't have a lot of what I've enjoyed about the Ant-Man movies. You've seen the first two, right, John?
Yes.
Yeah, and like I like him because of Paul Rudd. I like him because, you know, he's a guy who has to like, you know, somehow deal with like superheroing and getting in and out of jail and dealing with all of this weird science stuff that's way out of his element while trying to maintain a relationship with his daughter. And I think they tried to do that here, but the whole movie taking place in the quantum realm, and yes, I know the movie's called Quantumania. I guess I wasn't ready for how like artificial the whole thing was going to feel, and how less fun I think the whole thing, you know, felt for me. Like it was missing a lot of, I think, the ingredients that made Ant-Man feel grounded. Instead, they went very deep into this sort of like, you know, not a Star Wars-y type of world, which I think is fine if maybe that was what the first films were kind of known for, but I think it came at the detriment of a lot of the great humor and character dynamics. I thought there were one too many, like, you know, principal characters, and it resulted in, you know, somebody like Evangeline Lilly basically being a non-factor at all. I thought Kang, you know, Jonathan Majors had a great debut, like many people have been saying, including our own Rich Fan, Scrump, and WH Park, which you can hear a fuller review on MCU later this past week. But, you know, by the end of the movie, I thought he was... It's weird because, like, Kang is supposed to be one of X, you know, versions of Kang. But we've, up until this point, have seen two versions of Kang in the MCU, one in Loki, one in Ant-Man, and both of them have been, like, you know, brushed off, I would say, rather easily, or at least in this case, like pretty simply by, like, you know, arguably one of the weaker Avengers. So I don't know if that was a great showcase. I think this should have ended with this Kang surviving and suffering, causing a death, you know, among our principal cast. But that didn't happen. MODOK, I thought, was like a fun sight gag. I'm really not upset that, you know, MODOK was kind of treated as a joke. Like, he looks ridiculous anyway. So I think it just kind of fit in tone. But I usually enjoy my Marvel going kind of movie experiences just because I'm so like entrenched in the world. But like, I found this movie unfortunately kind of boring. And
how long was it?
It was like 2 hours and 5 minutes.
That's not too bad.
It's about the length of an average movie these days, Sean. But I mean, I think it was just because so much of it was so dark and inside the quantum realm that I kind of lost my interest partway through.
So I'm looking at this list. So the next Marvel release is Guardians in May.
Correct. Yeah.
That feels like that'll be a big one.
Yeah, it better be.
I'm excited to see that one.
It's the third one in the series. You know, of course, it comes after the entire James Gunn sort of controversy, and he's since now become one of the heads of DC, DCU. So there's a lot riding on him. I think, you know, just delivering, and if this does well, like, it could be the best ad DC has ever had.
All right. Well, so you're giving this what a on a scale of 1 to 10. Where does this land for you?
I'm gonna say like a 6.5, which is on the lower end for a Marvel film.
So glad you saw it, but you're not going to give some overwhelming recommendation for it.
No, no.
Well, I went out to go see Cocaine Bear on Saturday with two of my friends, and the first time I saw this trailer, I decided, you know what, I want to see this movie, and I want to see it in a movie theater, because this is either going to be a terrible joke that runs its course after 5 minutes, or it's going to be a whole lot of fun for the time it lasts. And this is a movie that understood what it was working with here, and the runtime is glorious. This thing was like 90 minutes. It was the perfect length. I loved it. As I have said many times when it comes to lengthier things, I've never left a movie in my life and said, oh, it wasn't long enough. I've never said that, and I did not in this case either. Now, what is your impression of this movie, Wade, just from the marketing and what you have heard about this going into the weekend?
I mean, my impression is exactly, I think, as the title seems to say.
Great title.
For me,
it's the title is brilliant.
For lack of a better word, it's sort of like a stunt movie, like a gimmick movie. You know, in the way that a snakes on a plane is. Like, it's the type of movie that just kind of sells you based off of the title alone. You don't have to know any other backstory. You're going to see a bear on cocaine.
Yes, and that's sort of the. I've seen that comparison to Snakes on a Plane, which I also saw. I was in New York City when I saw that movie in a theater. I think I had more fun watching this, to be quite honest. And it does feel like we're semi-removed from these types of movies that I guess you can equate them somewhat to a Sharknado, which I never watched the Sharknado movies, so I can't compare it to that series. But for those that are not familiar, as much as the title is great, they utilized very heavily based on a true story, which automatically grabs people. And things I heard from people going into this, like people were saying I'm amazed of like how real this was. And then when I did my research, it's like, what happened was in 1985, there was a drug drop off of a plane, and duffel bags of coke landed in this forest, and a bear ingested a duffel bag full of coke and died. Obviously, this did not lead to a coke-fueled bear just eating people in this mountain region, this blood mountain. So this is pretty much taking a semblance of reality and just going nuts. But you know what? I'm not sitting down for a documentary here, so I don't care at all.
That's why this movie was made, to see what would have happened if this bear survived.
Absolutely. It was like, what could have happened had this bear not died? So the movie, some of the highlights, number one, the runtime. Number two, Carrie Russell, who you would know from The Americans and a million things. Felicity, yes. The fact that they landed Carrie Russell for this, she plays the heroine, which obvious pun in this kind of a setting, and she plays it so straight. Like, it is just, you needed her character in this. And so the basic premise is Carrie Russell has a daughter that is skipping school with her friend. These are like 10-year-olds, and they go off to this mountain range, and they stumble upon this coke. And you've got these drug dealers that are also going to this mountain range to find the duffel bags, because the main drug dealer, Ray Liotta, in his final film before he died, this is his last role, needs to recover this cocaine, or else there's going to be bad people coming for him. So you set the tone immediately with this couple that is out there in the woods, and this bear is seen off into the distance ramming its head into a tree, and then comes and just mutilates this woman, and you are left with her severed leg. But as violent as this might sound, this is so much closer to Evil Dead than it is to graphic violence. Like, dude, I howled at so many times during this movie. It had some great scenes, many surrounding the bear.
How full was the theater?
Oh, dude, it was fairly empty. To be
okay.
fair, I went to an earlier showing on Saturday. This was like a 5:30 showing. It was, I would imagine a late night showing. It would have been a way more animated.
Yeah.
Like I wish I saw a later show where people were just more into the party vibe because
Yeah.
we saw it and dude, the theater had to be like 30% full.
Yeah, like this feels like it's the type of movie like you might want to go to like a smaller cinema for like that
Totally.
that might be frequented with
Yes.
adults obviously and watching like on a late night screening with alcohol.
There were a group of kids that tried to sneak into this movie and they got chased out by security. Like that, it was just such a throwback to me.
You got to try.
When
you
do
know?
you see kids trying to sneak into movies these days? So, anyway, my favorite character in this whole movie was the character of Bob, who plays essentially the town sheriff, and he is played by Isaiah Whitlock Jr., who, for Wire fans out there, will remember as Senator Clay Davis on The Wire. This man, he might have been representing the law, but he was guilty of stealing every scene that he was in this film. Dude, this guy was so awesome. There is a scene at the gazebo. I won't go into all of the details, but it's the funniest scene in the whole film, and he was fantastic. Just the best. That's about it. It's a stupid movie, but it never takes itself seriously, and there are enough funny moments that get you it's 90 minutes, and I really enjoyed it. It was a fun movie to watch in a theater. I don't think I would enjoy this as much if I was sitting at home watching this. I think this is a movie you want to see in a theater, and that was sort of my impetus to see this. I wanted to see this with my friends that are kind of into the same stupid stuff I am, and it was the experience of going and being in a theater with other people just laughing at just a stupid violent film for an hour and a half.
Every theater or every movie production company is after an idea like that, an idea that can not be, for a film that can't be replicated by a Netflix or something that, you can watch and stream at home or download illegally at home. Something that you have to pay to be in a theater, an experience that you have to pay to have with your friends, maybe late at night or maybe, I don't know, during a matinee or something. And I hear that this was very successful over the weekend.
It did over $28 million worldwide. So they've almost reached their budget of like what it costs. Like this was only a $30 million movie or so. There are 16 people cast in this movie. That is it. There are no background extras. There are 16 people total in this whole film.
And
okay,
Elizabeth Banks was the
Elizabeth
director.
Banks produced and directed this. So I don't think this is going to get her any kind of nod award wise. But I would say if you're into just like a fun, it's not just a joke title and it doesn't have substance to it. There's plenty of substance abuse in this and some wacky violence as well. And so popular way that The Asylum, who are the studio that made Sharknado, today have announced that this summer they will release, and I don't think this is a joke, Attack of the Meth Gator.
Right. Okay. So that's where we're at now. We're just kind of putting
and that's where I draw the line too. I was like, I enjoyed this, but I'm not going to watch the knockoffs after this either. So there you have it. I recommend it. I would certainly. It got me back to the movie theater. So that was.
And how was that? How was like just simply going back to the theater?
I enjoyed it a lot. It was interesting because while we were waiting for the film to start, to your point that you were just making, there were several ads where it's just subtly talking about the enjoyment of seeing a movie on the big screen. Like you could see like a real push to get people back to movie theaters just in the ads that we were sitting through at the beginning. But I loved going back. I mean, it was not so much a not being comfortable going back. It was more so just scheduling wise, trying to get out to a movie. So I was glad I got to on the weekend.
I think I just missed you at the theater, John, because I saw
Where did you go?
I saw your ticket stub, and like we had just gotten back when you posted your photo of the ticket stub from the same theater.
Oh,
so
you went to the same theater?
Yeah, we live in a similar neighborhood, so
Yeah, you're right. Oh, you should have stuck around. You could have come and seen it.
I could have snuck in. I could have joined the little kids.
You could have just walked in. It was a pretty empty theater. You would have been fine. So there, that was a lot of fun.
I think you sold a few people in our chat to see Cocaine Bear over Ant-Man, which suffered a huge drop second week. So I have the box office results from this week, courtesy of Rotten Tomatoes. Ant-Man and the Wasp was still number one at 32.2 million, but Cocaine Bear right behind at 23.1 million.
Oh, okay. I saw another one that said 28, but there you go, 23. And then Jesus Revolution. I heard about this film, but I don't know too much about it.
But the bigger story is, Ant-Man and the Wasp with the second week drop of a pretty significant amount, for a Marvel film. And I mean, it should not be rivaling Cocaine Bear like 2 weeks in, so huge win for Cocaine Bear.
Look at Avatar just squeezing every last drop out of their release. They're going to get every last million.
Are you planning another trip to the movies anytime soon?
So my friends want to go see John Wick 4 in March. I enjoy the John Wick films. Apparently this one, though, is almost 3 hours.
So what's your cutoff? Like, evidently 90 is your sweet spot. Okay.
90 would be amazing if every film could be so judicious with their time. Like 2 hours. Once you're going above 2 hours, I better really want to see this movie.
Okay. My next trip will probably be for Creed 3, and not because of the Raw product placement tonight.
Yeah, they were pushing it hard.
Yeah,
I would like to see Creed 3 at some point.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll
and then what? It's like, there's a lot coming out. It's like Guardians, Fast,
There's a Scream
X.
movie coming out. They're up to 6 now.
Okay, yes. Into the Spider-Verse. There's the Super Mario Brothers movie. It looks really good. The animated one, not the live action. But yeah, well, the movies are back.
They're back.